Hello and welcome to Business Talk with Taha. I am Zoha and today we will be talking about Vaahan Limited, an online magazine that features political analysis from all over the world. They pride themselves on delivering high-quality content crafted by experts relevant to the stories published. Vaahan was officially launched at Inner Temple last year. And today we have the accomplished CEO, Prerna with us in the studio. She's an incredibly multifaceted individual, broadcasting on New Sound Radio, comparing events, editing and corresponding. Going above and beyond is nothing new to her, and she was given the Pride of India Award 2017 by the NRI Institute. And in March 2017, she was also awarded the Bharat Nirman Award for her contribution to India as a non-resident Indian. Prerna, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a bit more about your new venture, Vaahan Limited.
So as you mentioned, we launched in November the 28th last year at the Honourable Society of the Inner Temple, and we thought that's a good place to launch the magazine because it's quite historic. It's got lots of links with not only UK law but also Indian law and the Indian freedom movement. So we thought we'd launch it there because the magazine's focused on UK politics, Indian politics and also Middle Eastern politics.
Oh, okay.
So we had a launch in Turkey as well before our London launch, funnily, and it's all about politics basically.
Okay. And as CEO, your role within the company is undoubtedly paramount. What are some of the demands of your position?
Well, it's you have to juggle lots of different things at the same time. Yeah. You have to just make sure there's good quality content coming in because that's the main reason why I started the magazine. I wanted something that's a bit different from what you get in mainstream media. I always find there's so much bias and there's so much sort of fake news out there, as we all know. So I think that's quite a big challenge, getting good quality content and finding good quality writers. And thankfully, we've managed to find quite a few of those. And then also there's a big social media presence. So you've always got to keep up to date with, all these different, being on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, updating everything on Twitter. So just making sure that everything's working along properly. And then also the business side of things as well. So getting advertisers, making sure the distribution's going out correctly. So lots of different things involved.
So many things you have to juggle.
Yeah.
So the launch was obviously a very important event for you. So can you tell us a little bit about that before we show the viewers a little clip?
Yeah, sure. So it was really interesting. We had Baroness Verma, she attended the event. The former Deputy Mayor of London, Roger Evans, was there.
Oh, okay.
We had the Indian High Commission being represented, our Turkish correspondent, someone from the Netherlands who's our Indian correspondent. So it was very international, lots of different people there.
Okay.
So it was really good.
It's amazing. So let's take a look at that then.
We're at the launch of Vaahan magazine today. We're all very proud of Prerna, who's done an amazing job bringing the first issue of Vaahan to life. And it's a fantastic magazine and I can't wait to see more and more issues. It's a great publication and lots more to come.
Well done for jumping through all those hoops and facing all those challenges. We are very proud friends, so congratulations.
Good evening everyone, it's good to be at the Vaahan launch tonight and I wish Prerna all the best for what she's doing. It's a great endeavour in the field of politics, trade and economics, and I think she's going to connect India, UK and the rest of Asia very well. She has been with UK Asian Business Council for a long time. She has been contributing to our organisation and I firmly believe that she will be contributing to the world through her magazine Vaahan. I wish her all the best.
You've done very well. We're really proud of you.
Really pleased with having the first edition held in my hands and flipping through the pages. It's been a great idea, but today has been a great success and actually a very nice reality to see. Both the variety and the quality of what's been written is absolutely thrilling. And I wish Prerna and Vaahan all the best. I'm looking forward to the second edition and the 202nd edition as well.
Do you think Vaahan will ever be pushed forward for printing and mainstream distribution?
Definitely. So not only are we online, we do have quarterly hard copy editions. So we had our launch edition, which came out in November, and we've got another edition coming up in March. And we are starting lots of main-wide distribution. So we've just signed a deal with Jet Airways. So Vaahan, you can get the magazine when you're boarding onto a Jet Airways flight. So from Heathrow Airport, all the flights going out to India Vaahan will be there, so you'll be able to get a copy. And we're in the pipeline of things with other airlines too, so lots of exciting things happening.
That's very exciting. And so you're also broadcasting with New Sound Radio 92 FM. Tell us a bit more about your role there.
So I've been doing that for a long time. So I have a breakfast show. I used to do a community chat show as a reasonable conversation. So I used to interview, well, I still interview lots of different community leaders, MPs, politicians, people that have done really well for themselves. So recently I interviewed an ex-army officer from India.
Oh, wow.
And that was quite an interesting conversation. I've interviewed someone from the House of Lords in India, the Rajya Sabha, members of Parliament in the UK. So I do lots of different things. And also the show, well, the radio station's focused on the Asian community. So we have Bollywood music. So I play that on the show, but a Punjabi music, just mix it up a little bit. So
nice. And this is every morning?
Tuesdays and Wednesday mornings.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays, okay. You said that you interviewed a previous army officer, correct?
In India, yeah.
Yeah, so let's take a look at that footage.
Sometimes you get better players in the game and you get better equipment and things might move along a bit more faster than if it was in government hands.
Absolutely, and obviously there are targets, there are sales targets, and everybody is accountable. Unfortunately, in all governments throughout the world, accountability may be there, but you don't have the kind of cutting-edge attitude that the private sector has, and that is exactly what is required in India.
Leaders can just start ruling a country or ruling an area without even being elected or having any sort of responsibility.
Absolutely.
It's time for another quick commercial break, but we'll be back and we'll be discussing more about Kashmir and also China after the break.
You are a qualified barrister in addition to editing and corresponding for other ventures and the broadcasting that you do on New Sound Radio. So how do you manage all of your commitments?
Well, with great difficulty. I think sometimes
I can't even imagine.
Sometimes my social life does take a bit of a backseat, and but it is quite fun. I think if you're really determined to do what you want to do, you just have to allocate time wisely. Like sometimes I have to work whilst I'm on the train or on the aeroplane. I think I went to Davos, and as I was coming back, I was writing my article about Davos to submit to my magazine and a few other magazines. I think when you're working for yourself, you're always working. Which is quite a difficult thing to manage, because it's not just you come home and you can switch off and be like, okay, someone else can do it if you're not well, or if you want to relax.
You're constantly on it. I mean, you've worked hard to get to where you are now. How do you use this platform to encourage dialogue about issues that you are passionate about, things such as human rights and international relations and politics?
Well, women's rights and gender equality is something that I'm really a big fan of and something I believe quite strongly about. So when there are incidents that I find should be out there and put out there in the media, I've written about it in the past, I've been on TV interviews about several things, and I've spoken about it a lot in Parliament. And there's something recently, so in the magazine, there's an ongoing debate about triple talaq in India, how they're trying to change the laws there, so men can't divorce their wives over email or WhatsApp.
Just by saying talaq 3 times, yes.
Exactly. So then we published that in the launch edition of the magazine because we thought it's an important issue involving women's rights and equality. So there is something that I think should be out there. I make sure that it's put out there, but in a responsible way. We have all the facts and figures before we publish something. So
that's excellent. And you do have over 10 years worth of experience in broadcast and print media. So what were the most valuable lessons that you personally learnt and challenges that you faced along the way?
Well, there's been lots of lessons learned. I think sometimes I think the only person you can really rely on is yourself. I've had lots of people let me down last minute, so I think you should always have a plan B, whatever you're doing. I mean, as soon as we had a designer who let us down last minute before the edition was going to go to print.
Oh gosh.
So that was one lesson learned, that always make sure you find someone really trustworthy, you do your homework, and
so you're not frantically running around at the last minute.
Yeah, I mean, there's always last minute hiccups, but then always to be really prepared whatever you do. And I think challenges as well sometimes, especially if you're coming new into the industry, it's hard to gain trust and credibility, and I found that was quite a hard thing to break through to, especially in the media industry and being in the Asian industry. It's hard for people to take you seriously sometimes, especially if you're a bit younger or if you're a woman. You have to, I think, try that much harder than your sort of male peers or the older generation.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And deciding to pursue a passion instead of full-time job is not easy, especially as it seems the Asian community has a sort of a mental block regarding this. Did you have to overcome any such obstacles?
Yes, I mean, I qualified as a barrister. I was working for Goldman Sachs, which everyone knows is a very,
it's one of the top 4.
Exactly. So when I tell people, I left Goldman Sachs to start my own magazine, they're like, are you crazy? You left Goldman's? People died to get in there. And I just think, you know, sometimes you can be earning, you know, whatever amount of money, you could be in the like most flashiest of jobs, but if you're not happy deep down, there's no point just staying there for the sake of it and being unhappy, no matter what the community says or what your neighbours say or what your friends say. I think if you really have something inside you that you want to do and fulfill, you owe it to yourself to give yourself that chance.
Exactly.
And just to see what happens. I mean, if that's your calling, it's sort of rude to, you know, not try it out for yourself and for the community as well, because it could do wonders.
Exactly. And what does the future hold for you? Are there any exciting projects lined up for you?
Yes, so with Vaahan we're going to be organising lots of different conferences. We are planning things in India, the Middle East and the UK as well. So our Middle Eastern section is doing quite well. We're going to be translating our magazines into Turkish.
Oh wow, okay.
So that's a new thing that's coming up, which is quite interesting, because then it's just bringing the UK and India closer to the Middle East as well. So we'll know what's happening over there, they'll know what's happening over here. Yeah. And so wider distribution, conferences, lots of different things, more things with New Sound Radio, and I'm starting an events company as well.
Oh, okay.
Glitz Entertainment, so that's something else.
Do you have time for that?
I'm going to squeeze it in, I think. So yeah, lots of different exciting things.
That's amazing. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
And to those watching today, what would be your most important piece of advice?
I think always follow your passions and your dreams. If you really believe in something and you have a goal, always work towards that goal, no matter what anyone says. So I've had lots of people tell me, why don't you just get married and have kids? You know, why don't you just help your husband's work? You know, I think never listen to people. There's always going to be negative people out there. So always, you know, look inside you and do what you believe in and what you believe is right. And I think just go for it.
That's excellent advice, especially for our female listeners as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you guys for joining us from home. And keep watching AsiaTV for more news and updates.